bawling her eyes out and screaming at me. And mind you, the child is still sitting in the living room next to us. Now, I handle a lot of strange and yes, dumb people almost every day, but one thing I don't tolerate is someone screaming in my face. I then said to her in a very strong voice, "Listen here, ma'am. The chips from the concrete is from when someone hanged a painting, and the markings in the glass is from someone scratching it. Also, the floor looks that way because that's how hardwood floors look like after someone has repeatedly walked in high heels. And your table looks like that because it's old and it's been used. Oh, and your stainless steel refrigerator got that marking after what looks like a BB was shot at it." And on the side, I'm extra proud of that last statement because I could see the child on the sofa trying to hide behind the iPad just a little bit more. Well, when I said all this prompted her to suddenly fall to the floor, and for a split second, I actually thought that she had collapsed or fainted. That is, until she started kicking and screaming into the floor. I thought to myself, okay, now I know how the floor got those markings. And the entire time she was freaking out, I was trying not to giggle, and that's mostly because of this Karen and her unpredictable attitude. Now, it's at this moment that the husband came in, and I didn't even know that he was home. The husband then says, "Hey, do you think it could be the mold in the air that's causing the damage?" And he said this not even acknowledging his own wife laying on the ground kicking and screaming. I then looked at him and I said, "I doubt it," and I noticed that he was much calmer and more collected to talk to. And I finished off by saying that it's just old-fashioned wear and tear. He then looks at me dead in the eye and says, "Oh, okay, well, thanks for stopping by." And he said this all while giving me the best handshake I've ever gotten. So I left, not knowing what in the world I did, not knowing if they ever accepted that it wasn't a pest that had attacked their furniture, and not knowing how to explain this one to my boss, because that Karen was absolutely out of her mind, and I honestly will never forget that situation in my life. Yeah, you've got to be a special kind of crazy to throw a temper tantrum on the ground, all because you're not getting the answer that you're looking for. And the fact that the husband walked in and he's just not even like acknowledging the fact that his wife is freaking out on the ground, like that part is hilarious to me, and I just cannot get over that. So good for you for keeping your professionalism and trying to have some kind of like professional demeanor, because I'm pretty sure I would bust up laughing if someone did that to me, and I definitely would have to be fired. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. An entitled Karen demands that we give her back her car for free after it was towed for being abandoned in the middle of the road. And after I tried several times to describe the process of getting her stupid car back, this entitled Karen refused to listen or take no for an answer, forcing me to deal with this idiot for over 4 hours. Here's what happened. So I work overnights for a good-sized tow company in a popular Northwest city. I was in the truck for over 10 years, but now I'm in the office. I dispatch drivers, process paperwork, and help customers at the front counter when they come in to get their vehicles. Now, I should mention that we are the primary contractor for our city's police department, which means we respond when they want a vehicle towed for a parking infraction, a DUI, an accident, a stolen vehicle, etc. We also have contracts with private properties to remove improperly parked vehicles, but the police work is by far the largest percentage of our business. Being overnights, I see more than my fair share of DUI calls and accident calls, while I have less parking infraction calls on my shift. But being on graveyard, I also get more than my fair share of crazy people. And trust me when I say this is definitely some foreshadowing. Now, for the most part, people who come in are pretty decent. They're not happy to have to pay to get their car out, but they usually understand that the police order the vehicle towed, so their bad mood is best aimed at the cops. Some of them actually admit that they made a mistake and chalk it up as a learning experience. But overall, it's kind of a crapshoot, and I have thick skin, so it doesn't really bother me. Well, on this particular evening, the shift previous to mine was busy, so I helped the clerk get caught up on his paperwork. There were a lot of parking infractions from some event downtown, so I knew the beginning of my shift would see some of these people coming in to get their cars. And sure enough, I did. Now, most people were civil, except for this one entitled Karen. When she walked in, I noticed that she was maybe in her 30s, and she was giving off very strong Karen vibes. She explains that her car was towed because she ran out of gas and left it in the middle of the street. The police then deemed it a hazard to traffic and ordered it to be towed. And this honestly happens all the time. She mentions wanting a form to request a hearing with the court to contest the impound. And this is honestly no problem for us. We can absolutely do that one of two ways. Option one is to pay the bill, get an itemized receipt and a hearing form, and then take the vehicle. She would then need to send the hearing form in, and at the hearing itself, explain to the judge the circumstances. If they decide that it shouldn't have been towed, or they want to cut the owner a break, they'll get some or all of their money back. The second option is to request an expedited hearing. I fill out a form and I fax it to the court. They don't get to take the vehicle, but they can get property out of it if needed. Then, 2 business days later, a hearing is held and they can explain the circumstances to the judge. If the judge finds in their favor, the court clerk will give the owner a form that directs us to release the vehicle to the owner at no charge. Once they come back to me and give me the form, I release the car and the transaction is done. Now, here's the thing. She wanted the hearing form, but she wanted to take the vehicle without payment. And guess what? That is definitely not the way it works. Well, when I explain that, she immediately goes off on me, demanding a manager and threatening to call the police, swearing that her lawyer was going to get us shut down, and stating that her car had been impounded before, and that was how it was done before then as well. When I was able to get a word in edgewise, I explained it yet again. Then she wanted a copy of the company policy, and I'm thinking to myself, what are you talking about? Does the grocery store need a company policy to say that you can't take those bananas without paying? When she realized that I wasn't going to budge, she then told me that I was a bad man and that I was not a godly man, and I just agreed with her. She then looked at me like I had slapped her in the face and went outside. Now, I presume that she tried calling the police and was just completely laughed at. I had other people to help, so I didn't see her for a while, but when she came back in, I didn't think that she could be in a worse mood, but my God, she managed it. I then had to explain the hearing form procedures over and over again with her boyfriend. She kept saying that it didn't make any sense and was demanding to know exactly how she would get reimbursed. I told her I've never attended one of those hearings, so I don't know how they do things there, and no one ever comes back to tell me. Then I made the mistake of suggesting that she might not be reimbursed, and oh my God, did that set her off again. The dude finally got tired of her garbage and handed me a debit card and just ended the pain. In total, this was nearly a 4-hour ordeal, and thankfully, the rest of the night was yeah, the entitled Karen of this story is absolutely out of her mind if she seriously didn't think that her car sitting in the middle of the road wasn't a hazard to all the traffic around her. Also, how on earth do you go that long without gasoline, where the only place you can stop and get things figured out is the middle of the road? She's either really dumb or incredibly lazy, but I'm honestly willing to bet that it's probably both. So good for you for putting this Karen in her place, because her attitude and behavior, in my opinion, was completely inappropriate. A group of daycare workers lost my kid while she was in their care, and then tried to shift that blame onto me and my wife, claiming that my daughter was being very bad, and that if we had taught her better manners, she wouldn't have run away from the daycare workers. So now I'm considering making a full-scale investigation to truly get down to the bottom of what actually happened, because right now I am very angry and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so myself, my wife, and our 3 kids were all at a social event on Friday with child care provided. It was a small event, and my 3 kids, ages 12, 10, and 7, were the only ones present. The 12-year-old elected to stay with my wife and I, while the younger ones wanted to do the kids' activities. Now, I will note that these are not strangers. We have been a part of this group for several years, and we know everybody present. Child care providers have been background checked and vetted, so it's not like we are dumping our kids with complete strangers. Fast forward about an hour, and my wife and I are chatting with some of our closer friends when someone comes and waves my wife out of the room. Now, they're friends, so I don't think anything of it. But a few minutes later, I'm walking down the hallway, and someone says to me, "Have they found your daughter yet?" It took me a second to process what was being asked, but then it finally clicks. My oldest son and I sprint to the classroom, and when we get there, my wife is holding my 7-year-old daughter, who is literally beside herself, and my 10-year-old son looks like he has seen a ghost. My wife is in tears, and by this point, my buddy who I was chatting with has caught up to me. So I hand my sons off to him, and I go to check on the girls. When I get over there, one of the 2 childcare providers is lecturing my wife about how my kids didn't respond well to the activity that she worked very hard to plan, and how we need to teach them to be more polite. Now, I'm much more interested in what the heck happened, but I come to find out that several minutes before someone got my wife, that my daughter had become upset, run out of the room, and hidden behind a door. The teachers looked for her themselves, then involved a handful of other people, and still had not found her when my wife came in and called her. In that moment, my number one concern was getting my daughter calm and getting us out of the situation. And over the last couple of days, I've gotten more out of my middle son, my wife, and my daughter. What I've learned is that my daughter didn't want to do the activity, and the teacher demanded that she do it or she wouldn't get to play. My 10-year-old stuck up for his sister, and while the teachers were scolding him, my daughter ran for it. I won't pretend that my kids are perfect. They can be grade A morons sometimes, but I know my girl, and for her to straight up run away from the situation honestly means that it had to be pretty sideways. And that's because She is tough as nails 99% of the time. What I've also discovered is that at no point did the words, "Oh, I'm sorry I lost your kid and didn't tell you," ever escape anybody's lips. With a couple days to think it over, I'm planning on demanding the video footage from the security guy, as well as a full explanation for how two teachers with a whopping two kids in their care managed to lose track of one of them. I'm not hung up on the apology or the lecture, as that really is just insult to injury. I don't want to destroy a group of longtime friends, but the more I think about it, the more I'm persuaded to believe that everything about the situation is absolutely unacceptable and that there is more to what happened than we were told, and I want to know exactly what went down. So honestly, would I be overreacting for investigating this further? What should I do?
With the Venmo debit card, you can turn the spa day that your friends paid you back for. Maybe cocktail tickets that you can earn up to 5% cash back on. Where spa days with the girls becomes concert tickets. Visit venmo.me/debit to learn more. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. pursuant to license by MasterCard International Incorporated. Terms apply. Dodge Cashback terms apply.
You don't wake up feeling overwhelmed. You wake up feeling the devil's passion. McDonald's breakfast comes first.
This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was getting frustrated by your forms. Now, Taxes is uploading your forms with a snap, and the TurboTax expert will do your taxes for you. One who's backed by the latest tech, which cross-checks millions of data points for absolute accuracy. All of which makes it easy for you to get the most money back, guaranteed. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Phone service. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Campfire season's back, and that means s'mores. But when you're at home treating yourself, take them over ice with Dunkin' S'mores Cold Brew Concentrate. And suddenly you're always treating yourself. The home of Dunkin' is where you want to be. Click or tap the banner to shop now.
No, you would not be overreacting at all. If I was a parent in your shoes and I had kids in this daycare and they were the only kids in the daycare, I would be furious that they not only yelled at my kid, but also lost one of them in the process. Like seriously, it's a 2-on-2 situation. How could they possibly be that bad at their job where they can't contain both of those children in like a small room for this small event? Like seriously, that is unacceptable. And in my opinion, I don't care how long you've been friends with any of these people, the second they start screaming at your wife or your kids about how bad they were, while also completely dancing around the blame, in my opinion, especially if I were you, that's when the gloves would be off and I absolutely would take no prisoners. Because I'm right there with the original poster. The apology or the lecture that they tried to give, which by the way was so stupid, I totally agree that's just insult to injury, but the fact that they were so negligent that they allowed this kid to run away, in my opinion, is the real problem that these people absolutely should be held accountable for. An entitled cranky old regular is constantly a problem at the restaurant I work at, and every time he walks in, I am always dreading if I'm going to be the unlucky soul that has to deal with him. Here's what happened. Okay, so we have a regular at my brunch spot by the name of Howard. Howard is not his real name. Now, Howard is a crotchety old jerk, and I have never experienced anything like his constant negativity. I am one of the two older bartenders on our team, namely that I'm in my 30s, and we have several cute young girls in their early 20s. He is awful to me and the other older spinster on site, but is plenty friendly with the younger coworkers, despite being old enough to be their grandfather. Howard sends his stuff back every single day. Maybe it's not hot enough, or maybe it's not cooked right. And he even sent back some food that had 7 flakes of parsley on the hash brown instead of having the 8 that he was expecting. Honestly, it just doesn't matter the reason. Something is always going back. When we bring back out the new pancake or egg or whatever he just ordered, he then insists that everything else get remade to be eaten together, which also disqualifies the new food. So really, most of the time, it gets remade twice. Suffice to say, everyone absolutely hates Howard. All of my managers have straight up told him not to come back, yet there he is at least 4 days a week, sucking all the joy out of my shift. Today, I had the absolute gift of serving my man Howard. We were also super busy because it's Sunday in a popular brunch spot, so I grabbed a glass and another glass stuck to it, and the second glass ended up dropping. So I thought to myself, okay, whatever, things can happen, so I'll just sweep it up. I'm also 7 months pregnant, so about 15 minutes later, my baby bump hit a shaker tin while I was trying to wipe the bar top and it fell over. while me, my coworker, and another gal at the bar are all just giggling together at me being really clumsy as a pregnant woman, Howard starts muttering. I gave him a look, and he says to me, "Will you slow down and watch what you're doing? It's impossible to relax with you making a constant racket." Well, when he said that, I kind of chuckled, because yeah, okay, I dropped a glass and a tin, but he's also 2 feet from an industrial-sized espresso machine, literally making an absolute racket. There's also everyone in the county having brunch, and the loudest top 40 crap corporate playlist is playing very loudly, so this is hardly a relaxing environment. He then follows up by saying, "No, seriously, you're making a mess. You need to slow down." Well, fast forward, and he was then surprised when I ignored him for the rest of the day. So I'm honestly just so sick of Howard, and I really hope I don't have to deal with him ever again. I cannot believe that someone who acts like that is even allowed back in the restaurant at this point. They're constantly sending back food and saying awful things to the servers and the bartenders, and for some reason they're welcomed back as if nothing happened. Like at that point, it just seems like the managers are welcoming a toxic work environment. So I'm right there with you, and I really hope you just don't have to deal with Howard anytime soon, because his attitude sounds atrocious, and I don't blame you for ignoring him. An entitled Karen tries to force my dog to meet her dog, despite the fact that my dog is not very friendly. And after arguing with her back and forth, and trying to get her to see reason and to get away from me, I finally hit my breaking point, forcing me to snap at this lady and put her in her place. Here's what happened. Okay, so this happened a few hours ago, where I was out walking my dog. My dog is a 7-year-old cattle dog, and while generally very friendly, can be a bit dog reactive while restricted on a leash. I see up ahead an older woman walking her dog along the path towards us, so I move off to the side of the path by about 5 meters, and I'm doing this to let her pass and keep a comfortable distance between our dogs. When she reaches me, she turns off the path and literally starts walking towards me, gesturing at our dogs and saying, "Oh, they can meet." I tell her politely, "Oh, no thank you. This one doesn't like meeting other dogs on leash. We're just gonna come over here and let you pass." She continues walking towards me, and then she says, "Let the dog decide if he wants to or not." So I think to myself, okay, thanks for your unsolicited advice on how to train my champion agility dog, random old woman. At this point, I wanted to tell her to kindly get lost, but we live in a small town, and I don't know whose grandmother this might be, so I'm trying to keep things as polite as possible. I tell her again, "No, he doesn't like meeting dogs on a leash. Please give us some space." She takes another step forward and says to me, "Does he play with other dogs? I mean, have you even given him the opportunity to?" So I tell her that yes, he does, just not while he's on a leash. I then say to her, "I've had this dog for 7 years. I know what he doesn't like, so please just give us space." She finally stops advancing, but continues arguing with me. She says to me, "His heckles aren't up or anything. I think he'll be fine." I then say to her more sternly, "No, he does not want to. I know my dog." She responds by saying, "I know my dog too." And I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's great for you. At this point, I'm just staring at her blankly, trying to process how stupid this whole conversation is. Finally, she looks at me and says, "I think the problem is more with you than with the dog." And when she said that, I thought to myself, okay, the gloves are off, you old bat. I don't care whose grandmother you are. I say to her, "I actually didn't ask for your opinion, and I don't care about what you think whatsoever. Do not come any closer." Well, when I said that, she finally gets the message, and she then throws her arms in the air like some great injustice had just been done. She then shuffles off down the path, muttering under her breath about how rude and unfriendly I am. Now, I should point out that this whole time, her dog, who is a very old working breed of some kind, is just lazily following along next to her, showing absolutely no interest in me or my dog, and certainly no particular interest in meeting us. My dog, on the other hand, was standing upright and rigid, staying close to me and clearly wanting nothing to do with the unwanted approach. This entire interaction was being driven by her, despite me stating clearly and multiple times that I did not want it to happen. There is something very unique about that generation that makes them completely incapable of understanding that what they want isn't the same thing as what everybody else wants. And I honestly hope that I never deal with anybody like that ever again. Yeah, that Karen who was trying to get close to your dog was so far out of line. It sounds like that dog really would have messed up her dog, and she was seriously playing with fire. Like you were trying to warn her. You were trying to say, "Hey, my dog is going to mess your dog up really badly. You need to keep your dog away from me." But it quite literally fell on deaf ears. So good for you for standing up for yourself and getting this weird entitled Karen off your back, because the way she was acting was completely unacceptable. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out EasyMode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.
And this is going to be all filled up with some other content. Oh, we are going to talk about this. We are going to talk about this.
Stupid ass man, bitch. And now professional TikTok.
A crazy Karen throws herself. My stepson's entitled vegan girlfriend demands that while she's staying here, I need to stop eating meat inside of my own home. But after being confronted by these people, as well as them trying to run the way I live my life, I decided to put my foot down and put these people in their place. Here's what happened. Okay, so my stepson, who we will call Ben for the sake of the story, is 20 years old and is living with us now during summer break from college. About a month ago, he asked if his girlfriend from college, we'll call her Olivia, could stay with us the rest of the summer because she is going through a rough time at home. Now, I wasn't fully on board with the idea. We already have two other kids, ages 11 and 9, in the house, so having 4 adults and 2 kids in our space is a lot. My wife has a soft spot for Ben and struggles to say no to him. So, my concerns were dismissed, and now Olivia is living with us until they go back to school. And there have been a few issues that have come up since Olivia's come along, pretty much all of which have to do with me. First of all, one of the big reasons Olivia wanted to change her living situation is because her parents are alcoholics. Now, I don't drink every day, but I do have alcohol in the house, and I like to have it with a meal sometimes or have a few cocktails on the weekends. And this is very triggering for Olivia to see a parent drinking with kids around. Secondly, Olivia is vegan. We eat a lot of meat in our house, and pretty much every meal has meat involved. I also hunt, so we do eat meat that I've harvested, and I have a few mounts on the wall. And apparently, this makes Olivia especially uncomfortable. Ben and Olivia sat down with my wife and I this past weekend and offered some suggestions to make Olivia's time here easier. Their first suggestion was that if we want to drink, I should do it in private and not around the kids. I tried to interject when they might suggest this could happen, but they asked to let them finish before saying anything. Their next suggestion was to allow Olivia to cook vegan meals for us so that we didn't eat so much meat all the time. She even offered to do grocery shopping and meal planning to provide vegan meals for us instead of our usual meals. And finally, they asked if I could remove the mounts from the walls of the house until they go back to school in 6 weeks. When they finished, I asked if it was okay for me to talk now, and they said yes. And I told them that my answer to all of their suggestions was no. I told them that I appreciate Olivia's offer to cook for us, and she is free to cook any vegan meal for us during the week if she wants to. But we are not going to completely change our diets for one person. But as far as their other suggestions, that's just definitely not happening. My wife spoke up and said that maybe it wouldn't hurt to try their suggestions a little bit and just see how things go. She said it's only 6 weeks, and that changing our lifestyles a little bit for a short period wouldn't destroy us. Well, I told all 3 of them that if they want to change the way they live, they are free to do so. But they are not going to force me to change the way I live in my own home for a temporary guest. I told them that if it means I cook separate meals for myself, so be it. But the mounts are staying up, and if I want a beer or a glass of wine, then I'm definitely going to have one. Now, all 3 of them think I'm being unreasonable and that they are not asking too much of me for a short period of time. So am I in the wrong for not giving in to my stepson's girlfriend's demands? What should I do? Wow, I cannot believe the audacity of Ben, Olivia, and your wife in this situation. Who in the world do these people think they are? You're telling me that a temporary guest is coming into your house and saying, I'm sorry, all these things around me are really triggering, and you need to change them just for me. Like, what is happening right now? That is not how this works. If you're a guest in somebody else's house, you can't just make these weird demands and be like, oh, it's really triggering if you don't change this. Like, why should the original poster have to change his entire life around for 6 weeks instead of Olivia and Ben just adapting for the 6 weeks and then going back to college? Like, the original poster has it 100% right. He should not have to take down any of the mounts off the wall, and if he wants to drink beer and eat meat in his own home, then guess what? That's exactly what he's gonna do. And if they don't like that, then they can stay in like the guest room or like make their own meals at separate times. That's like the real solution in my opinion. It's not turning around and trying to control someone else's life all of a sudden as a guest in their home. So no, you didn't do anything wrong. You have every right to live your life in the way that you want to live it. And you most definitely don't have to take orders from somebody who pays $0 to your household. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. An entitled Karen inside of an airport decided to be incredibly rude to a stranger I was standing next to. So I decided to stand up and give her a piece of my mind. And I've honestly never felt better about getting back at somebody in my life. Here's what happened. So I went on a baby moon with my wife to Kona, Hawaii. And this situation happened at the airport on our return trip. If you've never been before, the Kona airport has no closed terminals. It's a bunch of gate open air pavilions that are right next to the aprons and taxiways. So it is very